Split call, Chris Farfoy, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and it's a shame I don't have 10 minutes to fulfil the needs of Mark Sabin around the social security benefit categories and work focus amendment bill. Mr Speaker, during the committee stages, the member who just took his seat, Mark Sabin, said that this bill basically succeeded in the government's pursuit of creating conditions for businesses to create jobs. And when we look through the social security benefit categories and work focus amendment bill, I don't see much in the way in this bill that helps any businesses create an environment that creates jobs. And in fact, this is the kind of bill that gets introduced to the House when a government has done exactly the opposite and hasn't done anything to try and create the conditions to create jobs. And that has been borne out by the unemployment rate, which has stayed high under the current government. And if you want to have a look at a subset of the unemployment rate, and I think Asanati Lolly-Taylor will probably want to concur with me on this, around the Pacific Island unemployment rate, which is close to an all-time high at around 16%. This piece of legislation does nothing to address that issue of especially dealing with unemployment for a vulnerable part of New Zealand's community, the Pacific Island community. So, Mr Speaker, in respect to Mr Sabin's comments in the committee stages around this bill, I would have to question the validity of that statement. And I'm glad he did take the opportunity just to take stock of what bill he was talking on, because for the 3 minutes prior to that, I didn't know what he was talking about. I did not know at all what Mr Sabin was talking about. And this is the bill that he said just in the previous readings on this bill that created the conditions for businesses to create jobs, which is certainly not what is done here. Labor is not supporting this bill, as the three previous speakers on this side of the House, the Labor speakers on this side of the House, have said, because we don't believe it does anything to address the issues that have been identified as the barriers for work, and that is the creation of jobs and the availability to work, childcare costs, and whether an individual has the necessary skills required. And in those three respects, Mr Speaker, the government has failed quite miserably in all those three respects. I've already talked about its lack of action on creating an environment to have more jobs, but in the area of childcare costs, we're seeing a stick approach here with the government, where it will punish those beneficiaries who do not get their children into childcare. Childcare on this side of the early childhood education, I should say, on this side of the House is something that's very much valued, and that's why we want to make sure we get as many of our young people into ECE, into early childhood education centres with 100% qualified teachers. But what this government has done has not created the number of places in early childhood education centres to meet the numbers required under this piece of legislation. So in terms of that aspect of this bill, that is a hollow, I guess, attempt and a hollow promise to try and get the rates of early childhood education lifted. And where do we start with the government struggling to get the people with the necessary skills in this country? I believe it was about 3 years ago when the government cut a considerable amount of funding from trades training. And what that has meant post-Christchurch is that we do not have enough of properly qualified builders, plumbers, sparkies there to help in the rebuild. So gas fitters and drain layers. A very interesting group at the moment. So in that respect, Mr Chair, the government hasn't addressed that aspect of making sure we've got enough trained, qualified people out there with the right skills in the workforce. We've got Christchurch screaming out for skilled labour, and we haven't been able to deliver that because of this government, in its first term of government, considerably cut the budget for trades training. As I said, Mr Speaker, I can get hotter if you like. So, Mr Speaker, as I said, this bill takes a stick approach to beneficiaries and it brings in some social obligations. It's the introduction of obligations that implies that parents who are getting government support are poor parents, and we believe that this is both wrong and unfair, but I'm sure you'll hear the next speaker from the national government say that that is just. The use of sanctions,
Order.
we do not...
Time's expired.
Oh, thank you very much. I wish everyone a happy Easter.
Mr. Speaker.
Catherine Delahunty.
Thank you.